Well, welcome to Weston Cooks. Thanks for having me. My name is Mirela, and today I'm going to make a meal. I'm originally from Albania, and I am a chef. Well, not really. I went to Le Cordon Bleu. I went to school to be a chef, but I'm also an engineer. RF engineer, wireless. Not that it has anything to do with cooking. So today's menu, back to my basics. I think for me, cooking is memories. And so today I'm going back to my deepest memories, my grandmother cooking at home. And it's basics. Albania is this tiny country, north of Greece, close to Italy. Went through Ottoman Empire invasion for a long, long time in 14th century. So it has this fusion of cultures in this tiny 3 million, it's just only 3 million people there, but it's tiny, but it's so diverse, and there's a lot of flavors. And that sort of comes through the meals and the dishes. It's a lot of Middle Eastern flavor from the Turkish Empire, and it's a lot of Italian flavors and Greek, and you will see. So my meal today is going to be bread. I think it's a staple of every country. It's nothing really Albanian about it, but we always make bread. And my second one is going to be white bean soup. A lot of people will say Italian white bean soup. Well, it's Albanian, this one. It's a tiny little bit different from the Italian dish. And my third and the dessert will be apple cake, which actually is really so close to apple clafoutis, the French dish, but this is Albanian. What makes it Albanian? Me, of course. So I'm going to start with bread. Bread takes the longest here, so I'm going to start the dough, we'll let it rise, forget about it. Meanwhile, I'll start the soup and let it cook in the oven while I prepare the cake over there. And the bread, hopefully, and the cake were sort of going to be ready at the same time. Pop them both in the oven, very similar temperature cooking for both, and voila, we're done, the whole meal. So bread, we're going to start with bread, but before I touch anything, very important, hands, no nail polish, no manicure. Don't cook with that. If the nails are already done and your hands look gorgeous, then put gloves. So, but at least that's what I do. Wash your hands. Second, really important, for me anyway, is this, my hair. Hair should be up. Nobody wants to eat hair. So I'm going away from the kitchen, put my hair up. Okay, the only thing that needs to be looking good here is the food, not me. And my apron, that's my name in here. I spent the summer in Prague with my brother and his family, and he ordered this for me. It says Chef Mirela, and that's my name in case nobody can pronounce it. It's Mirela. You know, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, si, do? Yeah, it's me, Mirela. The musical notes right there. Okay, cool. You know what was the best memory for me from that cooking school, Le Cordon Bleu? By the way, my diploma is there, the only diploma I'm proud of. So let's start with the bread. So I usually use a much bigger pot for this, but I'm just not gonna make a big bread because I'm making this in stages. I will do every stage myself here. And then I'll show you voila, I have already a dough that I already started. So this is usually the size that you'd like because it rises. And then we go back there. I just took the bread out of the oven, magic. Let's start it though. Unbleached organic flour, not the bleached type. Just one thing, I never measure. For the recipes and the measurement, ask me, call me, email me. But it's about roughly 2 to 3 cups flour. Maybe that looks like 2. Let's make it 3. I never measure, I never time, because when you cook, you got to use your senses. I do anyway. Smells, the temperature, the texture, the fingers, everything. This is dry yeast that goes in. Warm water to activate it. Okay. And a little bit of sugar helps activate the yeast. Give it a good stir. And let this rest for a little bit. Here, we're gonna add a little bit of salt for taste. This comes back here, olive oil. It makes the bread much, much moist. Now, I make so many types of bread. This is the classic, just white bread. This is the one that really doesn't take too much effort. It's not too much kneading. Actually, there's no kneading at all. And it's just a little bit of time. Takes just time for the yeast to activate the dough, and that's about it. So after a few minutes, leave this about 5 minutes, and this is going to start foaming. Make a well here in the middle. Add this, the yeast. Maybe half a cup. So if you add a little bit more than half a cup of oil, the bread is going to be a little bit more moist and more elastic, flavorful. Less, you can do it with no oil at all. It's still okay. It tends to be a little bit drier, and a little bit of warm water. It's about a cup and a half of water, and then use your hands to make the dough. And don't add the water. The water should be warm, at least for this recipe is better. Add it a little by little, and you don't want like a very rough, tough dough. Has to be soft. This one, just soft dough. Not too much kneading, just keep kneading. Adding the water very slowly. I don't want, and you know, I feel like I want to add a little bit more water, so to show you why do I, because even, let's say what happened? Too much water. Don't worry. Just keep adding flour. A little bit more. The thing here is that one hand is unusable. Keep doing this. See, it's not a rough dough because we're not going to knead it. We're going to leave the yeast in here to do the work for us. That's it. It's a little bit like, look at the texture of this. It's sticky, it's yucky, but it works. Okay, wash your hands, my hands. Cover, forget about it. This was the white bread. So this flour here is a whole wheat bread, and it's mixed with chickpea flour and a few other grains. Exactly same procedure as the other one, just different flour. The reason I'm showing it to you is because earlier I did two of them, a white one, and I used this flour as well. And I added a little bit of seeds, pumpkin seeds. So while we're forgetting about this one, here we go. 4 hours later, ta-da, magic. This is what happens to the flour and the bread dough. Best is after, this is maybe 2.5 hours. Just work it one more time, put it down, just like this, let it rise another maybe half an hour or so. And this was the other flour. different color, the texture is a little bit different, the bread will be a little bit different, a little bit more grainy, but tastier. At least I like it better. This is how this one looks. See all these bubbles in there? Okay. I don't know if I mentioned it, but the yeast here was about half a teaspoon for one of them. Okay, working this a little bit more and just put it there, forget about it. Magic, I did this earlier. Now this and this are the two breads that I made. And the reason that I'm showing this to you now is because I will use both pans for the new bread. So this is it's nothing like fresh warm bread, and this one is delicious. It's so good. This is the white one and this is the multi-grain one. Really, really good, both of them. I'll get back to these later because I would like to show you how to put this back in the pots. As you see, I'm just going to remove a little bit the seeds here, not going to wash it. Always have a compost little bowl here, and I use this for the garden, for a big compost bin that I have outside. So for this one, drizzle a little bit of oil, just a tiny bit. Okay, here we go. Go back to the flour. I need a little bit more flour. These are the flour. And then rub it. I don't like to use sprays. This is easy, this works. Rub it. Oh, it's hot. The pan is still hot. It's okay. The oven over there is ready. It's at 370 degrees. Okay. We get the dough. Put it back here. A little bit of oil on top of it. Gives a color. And it's easier for you to just put this in, just like that. I don't know if you can see. So we put this back here. Just work it a little bit. You don't want to take all the air out of it. So this is how it looks. Put it there. Let's do the other bread, the whole wheat. Same exact thing. Just work it a little bit more. I love to use cast iron because it just bakes that bread so evenly, and just like it's absolutely the best pot to use. Like, look at that. It's even in every angle. It looks really nice. Okay, pumpkin seeds. That's what I was looking for. You can put some on top of this or not. You can put any kind of seeds you like. And pop this in the oven. 370. Uncovered. There you go. Beautiful. Takes about 45 minutes to an hour, or when I went to Le Cordon Bleu, my favorite professor, Chef Gougoulé, every time a student would ask him, "How long, chef?" He'd say, "Till it's done." When it's done, chef? Till you smell it, you touch it. So I don't know, you gotta look for this golden brown color, and the bread starts, taking this like little, it starts opening up. Back home, you have to let the bread rest for about half an hour. Otherwise, your mom or grandmother will be really, really mad at you if you touch it. But here, hey, I'm the boss. So you just do that. Look at that. It's so good. We're gonna leave this one for the soup. Okay, off to the soup. We start with another cast iron big pan. Turn the heat on. Medium, about medium. For this one, I have always these two things with oil. This is olive oil, and this one is grapeseed oil. And I like this a little bit better when I start sauteing things, because the burning point, I think, is much higher than that. And because grapeseed is very almost flavorless oil, I like to put some herbs in there from my garden. So a little bit of oil goes in the pan. Now here, I have to be really quick. Boom. One big onion. A knife, go horizontally, couple of horizontal lines, just like that. And then always curves your finger. Onion goes in. You want to hear that sound. Okay. When you hear that, everything is good. The right temperature. Keep sauteing. Celery. Maybe 2 or 3. It goes in. Now, can you do this in advance and everything goes in at the same time as it's supposed to be? Yes. Am I organized? This works. I'm fast. And then I went to the garden in the morning. This is all from the garden, all these herbs, carrots, everything we're gonna use. It is from there. I started chopping them. I will talk a little bit more about that, but now I am going quick because I need to put these carrots in there quick. Mix, mix, mix. And this, and then lower the heat. Now, this has to be sweating. Just sweating. Now I want to talk a little bit about the herbs we're going to use. So, the garden this year was glorious. These tomatoes are from the garden too, by the way. So I'm using oregano, 2 types of oregano. One is Italian and one is a Greek oregano. And this is thyme. It smells so good. Sage, mint, rosemary, and these are chives for garnish in the end. A little bit of basil and parsley. So I'm going to make what French call a bouquet garnier with these herbs, which means I'm not going to put them in there or just chop them. I'm just going to make a little bouquet. I love thyme, so thyme, a lot of oregano, a little bit of sage, and I'm not gonna, maybe just a tiny, not much mint, maybe a leaf or 2, because mint tends to overpower this. And then I will tie this up. Make a little bouquet like this so you can put it in and fish it out. So the onions, carrots and celery, they're looking good. A few few more seconds. And here's what we're going to use for beans. Cannellini and dry beans always. Now, the best way to do this is to soak these beans overnight. So now we use tomato paste, not tomato sauce. It's very important, tomato paste. And because I don't want too much acidity into this, tomato paste keeps it like nice and sweet, gives it a lot of flavor. That's it. The brand of beans I'm using is Cannellini dry beans. And we're supposed to soak them in water overnight. About 2 cups of beans, 1.5 cups to 2, depending on how many people you're feeding. Soak them overnight. At this point, I'm going to add a little bit of water here. A lot of water. Cold is fine. Just a little bit. So the Albanian version of white bean soup does not have too much spices in it. I've seen a lot of recipes of this with variations on spices and herbs. This is mild, it's more like Mediterranean type. As you saw, I'd like a little oregano and a little sage. This is just to give it a flavor and let the soup be mild. That's the idea. And this will reduce a little bit. We'll let it go raise this a little bit more. And when the beans are ready, maybe either overnight or sometimes I just let them for a couple of hours. So the shorter you leave the beans in the water, the more time you'll need to simmer them. Let's pretend it's been a few hours. Drain the water. Put the beans in there. Add more water to the pan. And in goes the bouquet garnier. There we go. A little bit of salt. Go easy on salt. You can always add. It's very difficult to take it out, as you all know, I'm sure. A little bit of pepper. That's it. Stir it one more time, as simple as that. That's it. This will simmer for maybe 1.5 hours. Keep adding water if it needs to. Okay. And let it go for as long as you can. Okay, so earlier today I made the soup properly. I did soak the beans the night before. I put the bouquet garnier just the same way I prepared this, and this is how it looks. It's kind of thick. You want, okay. So we're gonna garnish this with parsley. I cut myself earlier. It happens to everyone, even the chefs, whoever is watching. So always curve the finger and go a little bit of parsley. I like chives. I love scallions. Actually, these are scallions, not chives. I love them both in the onion family. A bit of scallions there, very young. Voila. And let's serve it properly, Albanian style. with a piece of bread and a spoon. Voila. I don't know if you noticed, I didn't use garlic, ginger, or hot peppers, although I had them here prepared. That's because I wanted to stay true to my traditions. My grandmother didn't use them, I'm not using them this time. And another thing, this is from my garden today. These were the ripe one that I just picked from my garden. Instead of the tomato paste, you can actually add fresh tomatoes to the onions after, when the onions are sweating and are almost ready, then you can add chopped tomatoes. Voila, this is dinner. It's homemade bread and white bean soup with herbs. Okay, and now we're going off to dessert. The dessert is apple clafoutis, like clafoutis. In Albanian is kek me mol. And these apples, I prepared them a little bit earlier, and you see lemon here, because in order for the apples not to go brown, although these are turning a little bit brown, you just squeeze a little bit of lemon in there, just like that. Okay, up, take away the seed. Okay, and I'm gonna sprinkle a little bit of sugar into these apples. Brown sugar, just a tiny little bit. Okay. Well, you can see my fascinations with big, heavy cast iron cookware. I love it. This is another one. This is where apple clafoutis is going. So a little bit of butter goes in there. That's it. Let it melt. And the rest of this, about this much, this is about like 1 stick of butter, goes to the machine, mixing machine. We'll mix it. The butter goes in. We're going to put, so about a stick of butter. It's true baking needs a lot of measurements, but not always. There's baking and baking. Even if you're very careful and measure everything, the ingredients are never the same. The humidity is never the same. The air is not the same. So, and this is home cooking. No need to measure everything. You just get used to it. Once you get a little bit more experience, and even if it doesn't, it never comes exactly the same all the time, oh, that's okay. It still will taste good. So this, but I'll measure this one. So about a stick of butter, and I will measure about a cup of sugar. You have to level it. Yep, it goes in. Do you notice I put brown sugar to the apples and white sugar here? Because this one, I want to mix it really well till it starts foaming. The butter is room temperature. The butter is room temperature and is soft. So for this cake, I'm using these apples. Have a look at this. This grew here in town in Weston. There is a community orchard. And one day my son went there for his community service. He was helping some guy pick up the apple. And then I met him. I think his name is Reese. I'm not sure, but if he ever or somebody listens to this show and knows who Reese is, thank him, because he takes care of those trees. They're gorgeous. The apples are not beautiful. Look at them. They're just, well, they're okay, but some of them are really ugly. They have some spots and everything. But they're so delicious. They're just awesome. And they bake so well. So whoever is taking care of that garden, thank you at that little orchard. You're doing such a great job. And there's a cook here who really loves you. Stop. The butter is ready for my apples. You just put the apples in. I am sauteing these apples with a little bit of sugar in butter. And they're gonna start releasing some juices which we need for this. So back to the butter and sugar mix. I'm gonna add the eggs one by one. I'm going to add 3 eggs. You always do this separately, not on top of the food, because you just don't want any eggshells in there. Okay. And keep mixing in slow and add this. Let me see if I can do this with one. Give this another try. Okay. Three eggs in. Move back to the apples. They're looking great. I just want to caramelize them just a little bit. So this is Weston clafouti because the apples are Western apples. This will keep going for a while. You got it? Good. And this is the apples. And they're caramelizing. This is apples and butter now. We're trying to give them a little bit of color. That will become like foam. So we'll let it go for a while. Okay, let me do this because it's time. So apples are looking gorgeous. You can see a little bit of color here. Let me try to show it to you. At this point, turn this off. Move this away from the fire. And we're going to put a little bit of cognac. Cognac is really traditional. It's not this brand in Albania, but we have an Albanian cognac that my grandmother used to put in there. And it depends. Sometimes she would just have a glass for her on the side. So here, just a little bit, and you'll see those juices now. You don't want to flambe it, no fire out of it. And the alcohol just starts evaporating very, very quickly. Just leave it there. That's it. This will be ready for the rest of it. At this point, I am going to add some flour. All-purpose flour, not bleached. It's easier to put it this way. This will take about maybe just a cup and a half. So there was about a cup and a half of flour with about half a teaspoon of baking powder. Up. After the baking powder and the flour goes in, I don't want to work this too much, just a little bit, that's it. And voila. As simple as that. and I'm just going to spoon this on top of the apples. The French clafoutis has milk in there. Albanian clafoutis does not have any milk in there. The French one is a little bit more like a custard, and this one, it's more like a cake. So, but although I've seen French recipes that are very similar to the traditional Albanian or whatever, my grandmother's recipe. That's it. I'm going to show it how it looks. And this goes in the oven for about 40 minutes. Look at that. Do you remember the bread? Well, if you don't worry, because it's coming up again. So this is the whole wheat bread with pumpkin seeds. And the other one, the white one, was a little bit bigger, and I think will take a few more minutes. Let me see. Yeah, that's about it. A few more minutes and it'll be great. And in go the apple, okay? For about, well, 40 minutes, maybe less, half an hour till it's just golden brown and delicious. Wait. And this I made earlier. I will serve it so we can see how it looks and the texture. Tricky to cut or serve. So it's something in between a custard and a cake. There's a lot of apple in there. You see in there? So it is like custardy type cake. Okay. And I will serve this with my own homemade apricot jam that I made using dried apricot. That's it, apple clafoutis. The dinner is ready. So that's it for today. We made bread, the white bread, the whole wheat bread with pumpkin seeds that are flying around. We made a delicious Albanian white bean soup and apple cake with homemade jam. So my name is Mirela. Thank you so much for watching Weston Cooks. Oh! You know what I'm gonna do with these beans though? I'm gonna keep them in a bag for next. I'm gonna plant them. That's what I did. I had a lot of beans in the garden this year, and I didn't go and buy like 10 beans for $3 at the seeds. I just took beans like that, throw them in, and they just took.